At the banquet, I accidentally drank spiked wine, burning with a feverish heat and overcome with discomfort. I planned to go find my childhood sweetheart, the young Marquis. Suddenly, bullet comments flashed before my eyes. Silly girl, you'll feel good tonight. But tomorrow morning you'll have to face the crazy male lead's humiliation. He'll be forced to marry you, blame you for driving the female lead away, and on your wedding night, he'll even let a beggar take his place in the bridal chamber. Don't be stupid, supporting female character. Go find your aloof cousin next door. He's hidden 1,000 portraits of you in his secret room, every pose imaginable. Some people totally deserve to miss out on our girl, acting all high and mighty, ignoring her during the day, then at night. His obsession flares up, he breaks down crying, and calls her name in his sleep. My hands trembling, I knocked on the door of my cousin's room, he who was always as noble and pure as jade. An embodiment of restraint and dignity. Thirst, my throat was parched and hoarse, tears were forced from my eyes, not the kind of thirst that water could quench. I craved the cool touch of someone's skin, to soothe the scorching fire raging inside me. The wine was definitely spiked. My vision blurred as I scanned the faces at the banquet. Who on earth had drugged my drink? Someone who wanted to ruin my reputation and make a fool of me in public. I bit my lip until it bled. Clinging to the last shred of my sanity through the pain, stumbling and staggering, I ran outside to find Pei Yi, my childhood sweetheart who'd attended the banquet with me. Beneath the moonlight, behind the bamboo grove, Pei Yi stood with another woman. Before I could call his name, my voice trembling like a lifeline, those bizarre floating words flashed across my vision again. A cold chill washed over me, so intense it even overpowered the searing heat spreading across my skin. I recognized the woman beside Pei Yi. She was the daughter of Grand Tutor Shen Yanqi, the most celebrated talented lady in the entire realm, pure and elegant, erudite and accomplished. She must be the female lead mentioned in those bullet comments. The unattainable white moonlight that Pei Yi adored yet never dared to profane. Young Marquis, why aren't you staying by Miss Jiang's side? The cool night breeze ruffled my hair, clearing my head slightly and allowing me to hear his words loud and clear. His tone dripped with boredom and indifference. You mean Jiang Su? She's nothing but a pretty face, a complete idiot, sticking to me like glue all these years, acting so possessively that no other woman dares to come near me. I've long grown tired of her. She even thinks she can marry me just because our families are old friends, as if I'd ever take her as my wife. Shen Yanqi smiled softly. A picture of refined grace. Young Marquis, if you don't wish to marry her, what kind of woman do you want? Pei Yi dropped his careless demeanor, his voice turning earnest. At the very least, someone like you, graceful, dignified, poised and elegant, someone who can manage a household and make a worthy wife. I'd still been half convinced that those floating bullet comments were just my imagination, but hearing those cruel words from Pei Yi's own lips, my eyes burned with unshed tears. A sharp, stabbing pain twisted in my chest, swelling until it felt like it would burst. The drug's effects surged through my body in waves, leaving me no room to breathe. I couldn't turn to Pei Yi for help. Was I really supposed to beg that man instead? He was technically my distant cousin, but he held the esteemed position of Prime Minister. With a character as pure and unyielding as snow and plum blossoms, he was as cold and aloof as ice, never once seen groveling or compromising for anyone. Every time I saw him, his imposing aura, sharp and frosty as a mountain peak, made me too intimidated to even lift my head. I could only whisper a timid greeting, "Cousin," and he'd never responded. Rong Yuchen, the man as untouchable as the snow on a lofty mountain summit. Could it be true, as those words had claimed, that every night he cried out my name in his sleep? My ears burned hot in an instant. My blood felt like boiling oil ignited by a spark, making every inch of my bones tingle with an unbearable itch. With a fierce resolve, I turned to leave, but my foot crushed a dry bamboo shoot, the crisp snap cutting through the quiet conversation behind the bamboo grove. "Who's there?" Pei Yi's sharp gaze shot toward me. My eyes glistened with tears. I twisted the hem of my dress anxiously, my body racked with discomfort. When Pei Yi saw it was me, his sharp eyebrows furrowed deeply, his thin lips parted, his voice dripping with disdain. "Jiang Su." Must you cling to me so desperately? Can't you even let me out of your sight for a single moment? His expression turned dark and stormy. Can't I even have a conversation with Miss Shen in peace? You're so petty and jealous, no man in his right mind would dare marry you. I opened my mouth. My voice so soft and breathless it was like it could melt into water. That's not it. I'm not feeling well. I didn't mean to pester you. Shen Yunqi's voice was gentle and melodious, perfectly polite. It's all right. Since Miss Jiang isn't feeling well, young Marquis, you should go take care of her first. Pei Yi scoffed, completely unconcerned. Jiang Su, stop faking illness. Can't you come up with a more original excuse? Every time another woman so much as talks to me, you throw a fit. Last time it was losing your jade bracelet. This time it's not feeling well. How predictable. Pei Yi stepped forward, grabbing my wrist roughly, but the moment his fingers touched my burning skin, he froze in panic, his brows knitting tightly. Why are you so hot? Did you catch a cold and come down with a high fever? The familiar scent of Pei Yi's sandalwood cologne wafted into my nose. I could barely restrain myself from collapsing into his arms, my legs turning weak and wobbly. I'd endured for so long. The drug's effects were growing stronger by the second. My blood, my bones, every part of me felt like it was being gnawed at by ants. Just then, the bullet comments flashed across my vision again. No, no, don't let him touch you, girl. If you fall for this psycho, you'll be ruined for life. This bastard, he'll enjoy it just as much. But then he'll claim you seduced and forced him. Years later, he and his crazy lover will get back together. And you'll be kicked out of the Marquis's mansion to make room for the female lead, dying alone on the streets from illness. After you die, your cousin, who never had the guts to speak his mind, will follow you in suicide without a single word. Why can't you two just get together directly? Stop forcing this pointless melodrama on us. It's not even sad, it's just annoying. I stared at the flickering words hanging in mid-air, stunned for a moment. In the end, Rong Yuchen, the cold, arrogant prime minister who held the entire realm in his hands, would actually die for me. Pei Yi tried to pull me into his arms, but I pushed him away violently, my voice sharp. Don't touch me, I'm fine now. Pei Yi stared at me in disbelief, his expression turning angry. Jiangsu, what on earth are you plotting? Do you get some twisted pleasure out of playing with people's feelings? Faking illness again to get my attention, how pathetic. Pei Yi let out a sneering laugh. Jiangsu, when will you ever grow up? Learn to be as virtuous and steady as Miss Shen, for once. I dug my nails into my palm, until my skin broke and blood oozed out. My lips were covered in tiny bite marks, but I dared not make a sound, fearing that the slightest whimper would escape. Pei Yi left me standing there alone and walked away. I stumbled to the guest room where the current Prime Minister, Rong Yuchen, was staying. My fingers trembled violently. With shaking hands, I knocked on his door. A long time passed, so long that I could barely hold on any longer. Tempted to just push the door open and rush inside, finally, a pair of long, slender fingers with well-defined knuckles pulled the door open. Miss Jiang, did you knock on the wrong door? This isn't the Marquis's mansion, and it's far too late for you to be looking for anyone here. His voice was as cool and clear as spring water, yet as crisp and cold as jade striking against jade. The blazing fire inside me was doused for a split second only to flare up again, even more fiercely than before. The bullet comments were ablaze with activity too. He cares so much. Every night she doesn't come to him. Does he hide under the covers and cry secretly, then write Pei Yi's name on the soles of his shoes and step on it viciously? Don't be fooled by his aloof ice prince act. Girl, he cries so easily. Every time you call him cousin, his fingers shake with excitement. Later, bite his ear and keep calling him cousin, it'll drive him wild. The flickering words on the screen blurred before my eyes, my vision swimming with tears. All I could see was Rong Yuchen, looking as untouchable as a saint, dressed simply in a white inner robe. His delicate, well-defined collarbones were exposed, his soft black hair cascaded down to his waist, perfectly neat and tidy, his entire body exuding a cold, woody fragrance of sandalwood and jade. He looked so impossibly pure. I wanted nothing more than to drag him down from his lofty pedestal, to pull him into the messy, mortal world, and stain him thoroughly. To see the look on his face when his eyes turned red and he couldn't stop the tears from falling, my gaze trailed from his collarbones down to his lean, toned waist, and lower still, Chen noticed something was wrong with me. His cool palm rested on my forehead. "What's wrong with you? You're burning up, are you sick?" His voice, usually sharp and cold, softened slightly, laced with a hint of barely detectable concern. Standing this close to him, his faint, cool sandalwood scent filled my nostrils, like a drug I was already addicted to. My heart hammered wildly in my chest, the room spun around me, and I could barely stand upright. My legs gave way beneath me. Instinctively, I grabbed hold of his cold, slender fingers. My voice spilled out, soft and breathless, barely a whisper. Cousin, I stammered, my voice cracking with a desperate sob. The man whose hand I'd seized froze for a moment, but he didn't pull away. Instead, he let me cling tightly to his fingers, wrapping my hands around his. "I'm in so much pain. Please, help me. I wanted him to pull me into his arms, to press his cold lips against mine and quench this unbearable thirst. The bullet comments flickered wildly. "Good girl. Listening to our advice, she deserves all the happiness. Look at the ice prince's ears. They're so red I'm going blind. You've got one hand holding the girl. The other's free. Aren't you going to do something about it? Hurry up, you two. I even paid for a VIP membership. Just kiss her first, then do this, then that." The girl might be clueless, but Ice Prince, you can't be this innocent. Stop pretending. I saw all those portraits you drew of her. You're obviously a pro at this. Didn't you practice every night by touching her skirt until it was crumpled to pieces? It's the first time the girl has come to him. He's probably so happy he's panicking. Scared his dark, twisted side will scare her away. Where's my squad to force their heads together? Glue their mouths shut with superglue. Stat, Susu. Look at me. Do you know who I am? I did. He was Chen. He was the one I'd come to find from the very beginning. Susu, if you choose to provoke me, there's no turning back. I bit my lip to hold back a whimper. "Cousin, please, can you help me? Hurry, I don't regret it." Tears streamed down my face. Chen's cold, clear eyes darkened, like a predator lying in wait, ready to pounce on its prey. The rough calluses on his fingertips brushed against the corner of my eye. His fingers, stained with my tears, brushed against my lips, smudging the traces of blood. He lowered his head, his lips met mine. The cold, woody fragrance of sandalwood and jade wrapped around me, filling every single one of my senses. Behind my eyelids, brilliant fireworks exploded one after another. The Ice Prince really knows how to kiss. What a tear-stained, blood-kissed masterpiece. What could our brother possibly do wrong? He just loves his little sister too much. Rather than letting that psycho male lead kidnap and bully her, he's taking matters into his own hands and turning her into his wife first. Kiss her until she faints. Make her forget that anyone else even exists. My legs buckled beneath me, and I grabbed onto Chen's lapels, crumpling the fabric into deep, messy folds. "Cousin, let's go to the bed. Please." Standing like this was pure torture. My lips burned hot, and my heart hammered so loudly it echoed in my ears. By the time I finished speaking, breathless, Chen suddenly let go of me, his pupils contracting sharply. Damn it, he was enjoying that way too much. He almost let his true colors slip. Look at that possessive, out-of-control glance. The tension is off the charts. "Girl, you're being way too straightforward. You're practically killing him with desire. Let's all collectively lose our minds. Bye-bye, sanity. Sis upstairs. This isn't a restricted zone. Watch your language. Cousin." I leaned weakly against his chest, lifting my hazy eyes to his. A flicker of cold clarity returned to his gaze as he leaned in, his lips brushing against my earlobe, his voice husky and low. "Susu, do you like me?" "I do." My throat was parched with a desperate thirst. "Words spoken now don't count. Little liar," he murmured, his voice dropping even lower. "You only want me to cure the poison." I lifted my head, staring at his lips, glistening with moisture from our kiss, and leaned in to kiss him again. But he turned his head away, evading my lips. Mine landed instead on his Adam's apple. It bobbed heavily beneath my mouth. "I like you, cousin. I know exactly what I'm doing." my voice trembled, barely coherent. I pressed my burning cheek against his cool palm, rubbing against it gently, but it wasn't enough to extinguish the raging fire that threatened to melt my bones. The bullet comments flashed wildly across my vision. I got all excited for nothing. This is all we get. The girl is suffering so much, and I can tell your obsession is flaring up too. You two are each other's antidote, isn't that perfect? Calm down, sisters. We can't push him too hard. Whoever drugged her is obviously trying to set her up. If they consummate their relationship tonight, they'll be playing right into the villain's hands. Chances are, the moment she lies down on the bed, someone will burst in to catch them in the act. We won't be able to ship them after that. Our poor girl is just a pitiful pawn caught between a psycho couple. After all, she's nothing but a cannon fodder side character, in ancient times. Sleeping together without a matchmaker or betrothal gifts would ruin a girl's reputation completely. The fact that the Ice Prince could stop himself at a time like this, I'm either deeply impressed by his self-control, or seriously questioning his abilities. I gasped for air, staring at the floating comments, and slowly began to calm down. I closed my eyes, refusing to look at Rong Yuchen's handsome face, and fought against the drug's lingering effects. Susu, be good and open your mouth. My jaw was clamped tightly shut, racked with discomfort, but the man in front of me wasn't the least bit flustered. He nipped gently at the tip of my ear. At the same time, his cool, slender fingers pried open my lips, slipping a bitter-tasting pill onto my tongue. The acrid bitterness spread across my taste buds. I gagged, trying to spit it out. Rong Yuchen leaned down, pressing his fingers against my lips to keep me from opening my mouth. Don't spit it out, Susu. This is the antidote. Once you take it, you won't feel this burning need to cling to me anymore. The desire still smoldered in his eyes, but his voice had turned cold and detached. The bullet comments danced across the screen. Girl, you've ignored him for far too long, even now that you're throwing yourself at him. The Ice Prince still thinks you're only using him to cure the poison. He's secretly jealous and sulking. If only you hadn't been so busy chasing that psycho, if you'd spared him just one tiny glance, he would have fallen to his knees for you long ago, tumbling down from his lofty pedestal. The night you married that psycho, he stood there with a cold face and red eyes, sharpening his sword all night long. But when he saw how deeply you loved that man, he couldn't bring himself to strike in the end. As the antidote began to take effect, the burning heat and dizziness slowly faded away, but my heart still raced wildly in my chest. I reached out, hooking my fingers around Rong Yuchen's spotless sleeve. Cousin, kiss me again. He lowered his gaze, his long, thick eyelashes trembled violently. He stared at my lips, the corners of his eyes flushing a faint, rosy pink. What are you saying, Susu? I looped my arms around his long, crane-like neck, forcing him to bend down to my level, and then, at long last, I kissed him thoroughly, claiming every inch of his lips, mingling my breath with his. We kissed for so long. The corners of his eyes turned as red as the petals of a peony, tears glistened in his usually cold, emotionless eyes. TSK TSK TSK. So useless. The girl hasn't even tried her best yet, and is already about to cry. What can I say? Tears are a man's best dowry, Tilda. Just then, the door was suddenly slammed open. Here she comes. The psycho female lead makes her grand entrance. Let the drama begin. That was a close call. Thank goodness our brother had the self-control to stop. I can't even imagine how terrifying it would have been if this mob had burst in a moment later. Shinyanchi stood in the doorway, her voice as soft and elegant as ever. We just discovered that someone with malicious intent spiked the wine at the banquet. It seems that glass of wine was drunk by Miss Jiang. Her voice trembled, as if she were overcome with worry for me. I heard Miss Jiang came here to rest. Everyone, let's go check on her quickly, make sure she hasn't been harmed. Shinyanchi trailed off, her words hanging heavy in the air. No one could mistake her meaning. The guests at the banquet exchanged glances, then slammed the private room door open with a loud crash. Their plan was clear, to catch me disheveled and humiliate me to the point of ruin. This was probably the exact same fate that awaited me if I'd gone to Pei for help. In front of everyone, he would have screamed at me, calling me shameless for throwing myself at him, accusing me of seducing him into making a mistake. And then Shinyanchi would have left, heartbroken beyond repair. The moment the door flew open, Rome Yuchen stepped in front of me, shielding me from all their prying eyes. "It's late at night. What business do all of you have with my cousin?" When Shinyanchi saw him, the smile on her face drained away, turning as pale as a sheet. "Susu, why are you with the Prime Minister? I thought she went to find the young Marquis." Rome Yuchen's voice was icy calm. "She is my cousin. Is it not perfectly reasonable for her to come to me? Since when have Pei Yi and her been so close? There is no matchmaker, no betrothal gifts between them. Miss Shin, choose your words carefully," he snapped, his voice turning sharp and cold. "Do not sully my cousin's reputation." Behind me, the fingers that Rome Yuchen had wrapped around my wrist tightened slightly. He's still holding her hand, not letting go. "And he's already getting jealous. How cute, girl. That poison of yours isn't so easy to cure with just one pill. I'm telling you, you'd better go back and beg your cousin to kiss you again." Breaking news from the front lines. The psycho female lead is in position, and the psycho male lead is on his way. Code red alert. Rome Yuchen was as elegant and untouchable as a god, at a young age. He had been granted the title of Marquis and appointed Prime Minister, a position that countless people could only dream of, a man revered like a deity. And now, he was publicly scolding Shinyanchi for defaming my reputation. As the female lead, Shinyanchi had never suffered such humiliation in her life. Her eyes welled up with tears instantly, and crystal-clear drops streamed down her cheeks, as if she had been wronged beyond measure. "I'm sorry if I misunderstood. Prime Minister," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I only said that because I was worried about Miss Jiang. I had no other intentions. Miss Jiang is only your distant cousin. For you two to be alone together in a private room, this late at night, it is highly inappropriate. Prime Minister, you should also consider Susu's reputation." The bullet comments exploded with rage. "I'm so angry. The female lead is such a hypocrite. I feel so powerless, like I want to slap her, but my hand just goes right through her. I'll bet my life she's the one who spiked the girl's wine. You go stay with your psycho boyfriend, no one is trying to steal him from you. But if you ruin our forbidden couple, I swear I'll destroy all of you." I bared my teeth and claws, ready to pounce on Shinyanchi and tear her hair out. But Rome Yuchen didn't let go of my hand. Instead, his long, beautiful fingers stroked gently against my palm. It tickled. In front of all these people, he traced slow, deliberate circles on my palm. It was so thrilling. The heat that had just died down flared up again, ignited by his touch alone. Rome Yuchen fixed his gaze on Shinyanchi, his voice cold and unyielding. "Is that so? Then I will take responsibility for Susu. I will marry her." The bullet comments blew up. "The Ice Prince can actually talk. Cousin lover forever and ever. Our secret forbidden couple that we've been shipping in the shadows, they're finally getting the spotlight they deserve." Not far away, Pei Yi's face was as dark and stormy as a typhoon. His cold gaze locked onto me, and he strode slowly toward us. He clicked his tongue against the roof of his mouth, letting out a mocking laugh. "So, Jiang Su has finally grown a backbone. You were burning up from the poison, in so much pain, and yet you'd rather come to your cold, unfeeling cousin for help than to me." His voice turned icy as he curled his fingers at me, beckoning me over. "Susu, come here. Come back to me. I'll forgive you for everything if you just come back." Rome Yuchen's eyes darkened, his gaze fixed on me, silent and unblinking. His eyes were deep and cold, like shards of broken moonlight scattered across the ground. He was hesitating. He was afraid. Too many times before, I had run headfirst into Pei Yi's arms without a second glance. Refusing to spare even a tiny piece of my attention for Rome Yuchen, he had been forced to hide his feelings for me in the darkest, deepest corners of the night, feelings that I would never have known about until the day I died. I tightened my grip on Rome Yuchen's fingers, pressing my body even closer to his. "I'm not going anywhere, cousin. I'm scared. I only want you. That's my girl. All you have to do is act a little vulnerable, throw in a few sweet, innocent words. And the Ice Prince will give you his entire life. Finally, the girl is free from that psycho couple's toxic love story. From now on, she'll only get kisses, not misery." "Okay, that's a little crude, But you're not wrong, though maybe you could have phrased it better. Pei Yi froze, his face twisting with rage. Jiangsu, I gave you a chance. Don't you dare come crawling back to me ever again. Even if you get on your knees and beg me to take you back someday, I'll never marry you. I didn't even bother to spare him another glance. He wasn't worth the effort. Pei Yi's gaze shifted from me to Shinyanshi, who stood beside him, her eyes red and tears streaming silently down her face. He rounded on me, his voice dripping with venom. Jiangsu, what did you do this time to make Yun Si so upset? She went out of her way to notify me to come find you. She was terrified something had happened to you. She's nothing but kind-hearted. I should really thank her for her kindness. She was clearly determined to make this scandal as big as possible, to humiliate me completely in front of Pei Yi. Pei Yi was once again rushing to defend the woman he loved. Young Marquis, Rong Yuchen stepped forward, cutting him off, his voice calm and devoid of emotion. This is my little sister. I cherish her more than anything in this world. Who do you think you are, speaking to her like this? You won't marry her. Fine. There are plenty of others who will. Others who will cherish her like the treasure she is. Bullet comments. He can't hide the smile on his lips anymore. Brothers like, you said it yourself, she's mine now. Anyone who dares to steal her will pay the price. The 8th day of the 9th lunar month, it was the Empress Dowager's birthday. As her young niece, I had no choice but to enter the palace for the banquet. My personal maid informed me that Shinyanshi was also among the invitees. Thankfully, though, the Prime Minister would be there too. Oh, we're gonna run into that psycho female lead again. Be careful, girl, I have a really bad feeling something's gonna happen. Halfway through the banquet, the poison that had been suppressed in my body for days flared up once more. Sweat soaked through my inner garments in an instant. My legs went weak beneath me. My mind was flooded with thoughts of Rong Yuchen, his cool lips, his long, slender fingers. I bit my lip. Then ordered the maid I'd brought with me to fetch the Prime Minister at once. I'm over by the rockery, hurry. But no sooner had I spoken than Shinyanshi stepped out after me, dragging a strange man along to block my path. She wore that same elegant, gentle smile on her face as she said to me, I felt absolutely terrible about the misunderstanding the other day. It must have damaged your reputation so badly. That's why I've specially brought my cousin here to apologize to you in person. The man she'd brought with her kept his eyes fixed on me, his gaze undisguised and predatory. I don't need your fake kindness, get out of my way. I had to hurry. I had to find Rong Yuchen before it was too late. Shinyanshi's eyes turned cold as she watched my retreating figure. Then she let out a faint, mocking laugh. Cousin, haven't you been wanting to marry a noble lady of high standing in the capital? What do you think of her? There are so many people at this banquet. All we need is for someone to stumble upon her in a compromising situation. Look at how flushed her face is. Clearly, the poison in her body hasn't been fully cured yet. She's probably off to find some random man to help her again. If you can get to her before that man does. Cousin, do you really think you'll have any trouble marrying the legitimate young miss of the Jiang family? The bullet comments flickered frantically before my eyes. You psycho. Do you have nothing better to do than stir up trouble every single day? If you're that bored, go find a fly swatter and swat yourself. Where's our girl's protector? Your sister's being targeted again. Hurry up and send this psycho couple packing. They're making my skin crawl. I hid inside a small cave behind the rockery, listening as the sound of voices and footsteps drew closer and closer outside. I saw her running this way just now. The Imperial Garden isn't that big. She's suffering from the effects of the poison. Where else could she possibly hide? Shinyanshi's voice had lost all its usual softness and virtue, turning cold and menacing. If you want glory and wealth, cousin, then start searching quickly. The burning heat in my body felt like it was consuming me from the inside out. I leaned weakly against the cold stone wall of the cave, my body sliding slowly down to the ground. But the figure who appeared at the cave entrance was not Shinyanshi's cousin. It was Rong Yuchen, dressed in his magnificent purple official robes. I was completely drained of strength, my entire body soaked with sweat as if I'd just been pulled out of the water. His long, slender fingers were icy cold. Wherever his touch landed, the burning pain melted away, replaced by a sweet, soothing relief. Su, Hold on a little longer for me, he whispered. He slid his arm around my waist, pulling me tightly into his embrace, the cool, woody scent of sandalwood on his body, the smooth silk of his purple brocade robes. Right now, they felt more intoxicating than any poison, more tempting than life itself. I lifted my hazy, tear-filled eyes to his face. My voice soft and wobbly, laced with a hint of helplessness. It hurts so much. Cousin, if you kiss me, it'll get better. Just like last time, Rome Yuchen was faring no better than I was. His eyes were clear, yet dark with a terrifying intensity. When he didn't lean down to kiss me, I wrapped my arms around his neck and pulled him closer, my fingers fumbling with the neatly fastened buttons of his robe, exposing the smooth jade of his collarbones. Thirst. I was burning up from the inside out. I leaned in and bit down on his collarbone. The faint taste of his warm blood filled my mouth. It was sweet, addictive. Rome Yuchen's eyes darkened to the color of polished obsidian. So deep they threatened to swallow me whole. He let out a low, guttural groan. Su, not here. This is the palace. We can't. If we leave the palace, then will it be okay? Bullet comments. People are walking by left and right. Shinyanchi's cousin almost found them several times. It's so thrilling, I'm going crazy. Not here. Then go home. Has the girl still not gotten the hint? Do you take your brother for a eunuch? Teasing him like this, you're gonna make his obsession flare up too. Hurry up and go home already. Time for the private room plot. Rome Yuchen slipped out of his outer robe, then draped the garment, still carrying the faint, cool scent of sandalwood, over my head, covering me completely from head to toe. He lifted me up in his arms and stepped out of the cave. I rested my head on his shoulder, nuzzling against his warm neck. He stiffened for a moment, took a sharp breath, then composed himself and continued walking forward as if nothing was amiss. Prime Minister. Wait a moment. Shinyanchi's clear, melodious voice rang out behind us. She couldn't see my face beneath the robe, but she could clearly make out the figure of the untouchable Rome Yuchen holding a woman in his arms. A flash of jealousy shot across her eyes. She hurried forward and curtsied deeply. Prime Minister, have you seen Miss Jiang anywhere? She wasn't feeling well and left the banquet. We've all been worried sick about her. I trembled in Rome Yuchen's arms. Pressing my burning cheek against his chest, I couldn't tell if I was shaking from fear or from the unbearable heat of the poison. Rome Yuchen's voice was low and hoarse as he replied, I haven't seen her. He strode past Shinyanchi without a second glance, but Shinyanchi refused to let him go, her voice turning thick with tears. Half sorrow and half adoration. Who is the woman in your arms? Prime Minister, I've studied hard since I was a child, honing my knowledge and talents. Also that I could one day be worthy of you. I truly believe I would make a far better wife for you than Jiang Su ever could. I would be the perfect helpmeet at your side. The bullet comments were seething with rage. She's so obsessed with competing with other women, it's embarrassing. Which screenwriter came up with this female lead? She wants it all. Turns out that psycho male lead was just her second choice. She's actually been in love with the male supporting role, the Prime Minister. This whole time, newsflash, lady, he's a total sistercon. Lose the fake innocent act already. Rome Yuchen came to a halt, then turned to look at her, his voice cold and indifferent. The woman in my arms is the lady I am soon to marry. Since you're so insistent on prying, Miss Shin, I suppose I can let you have a look. As he spoke, he reached up to lift the edge of the robe covering my face, preparing to let Shinyanchi see me clearly. I let out a soft whimper of protest. My fingers flying up to wrap around his wrist, clinging tightly to him. Shinyanchi's eyes turned red with anger and humiliation. Her cold gaze fell on my fingers, which were the only part of me visible beneath the robe. Rome Yuchen lowered his hand slowly, his tone unhurried as he said, My apologies, Miss Shin. My fiancée is rather shy. She doesn't wish to be seen by anyone right now. When we returned to the Prime Minister's residence, I was so weak I couldn't even lift a single finger. Rome Yuchen knelt down and pulled my foot onto his lap. Susu, why are you always so careless with yourself? He murmured. I tried to pull my foot away, but his long, strong fingers tightened around my ankle, holding me firmly in place. It wouldn't do for a young lady to have scars marring her skin, he said softly. Be good now, and let your cousin apply this ointment for you. The residual poison in my body had flared up so suddenly and violently that when I'd been hiding in the cave, I'd scraped my calf several times on the sharp rocks. His cool fingertips, dipped in the fragrant ointment, brushed gently over the raw, stinging cuts. I couldn't help but shiver at his touch. Romyu-chen, I snapped. Losing my temper, I kicked out, sending the jar of ointment flying across the room. A few drops of the dark, viscous liquid splattered onto his immaculate, pale cheek. When he wasn't smiling, he looked rather intimidating, cold, aloof, and utterly untouchable. Beneath his official robes lay not just a tall, elegant figure, but a man who carried with him the blood-stained aura of the imperial court, the aura of someone who held the power of life and death in his hands. But instead of feeling afraid, I grew bolder, lifting my foot to press the tip of my toe against his chest. "They say," I began, my voice trembling, soft and breathless. I couldn't bring myself to meet his dark, intense gaze, "that if we make love, the poison in my body will be cured completely. I won't have to suffer anymore." The bullet comments had said he was obsessed with me. Had they been lying? I'd never once seen him lose control. Romyu-chen leaned in closer, the cool, woody scent of sandalwood wrapping around me once more, threatening to cloud my senses completely. He brushed a strand of hair behind my ear, his voice low and hoarse. "Su-su, not yet, things like that, have to wait until we're married. I need to be absolutely certain that you won't regret it." As he spoke, he leaned down and kissed me, sliding another bitter-tasting pill onto my tongue as our lips met. Bullet comments, he wants to be close to her, wants to possess her, and that's exactly why he's being so careful with her. I'm actually crying. He always puts her feelings first, always afraid that she's only with him because of the poison, that one day she'll snap out of it and leave him, that she'll come to hate him. Everyone stop scolding, brother. She's ignored him for years. Everyone in the capital knows she was in love with that psycho Pei, that they grew up together as childhood sweethearts. It's only natural that his feeling's so insecure right now. Keep a close eye on your girl. That psycho Pei is definitely gonna come sniffing around again, trying to steal her back. I slept for a very long time. When I finally woke up, Romyu-chen had already left for the morning court session. Sunlight streamed through the lattice windows, dust motes dancing in the golden rays, and the faint, cool scent of sandalwood lingered in the air. His scent. "You can sleep a little longer if you'd like, Miss Jiang," one of the maids said softly as she entered the room. "The Prime Minister gave strict orders that no one is to disturb your rest." I sat up, hugging my knees to my chest, and stayed like that for a while. The room was filled with his scent. The poison in my body had been suppressed for the time being, but the only thing I could think about was him. "Miss Jiang," another maid called from outside the door, "the young Marquis of the Pei family is here to see you. The Prime Minister told us not to disturb your rest." But the young Marquis has already been waiting outside for 2 whole hours. I didn't chase after Pei anymore. Why on earth was he still coming to find me? Outside the residence, Pei stood beneath an apricot tree in full bloom. Pale pink petals drifted down, covering his shoulders and hair. His eyes were dark and stormy, no trace of the spring sunlight reflected in their depths. "Jiang-su," he said, his voice cold and sharp as he stepped forward. "Why were you coming out of the Prime Minister's residence? Why do you smell like him?" I lifted my head and gave him a faint, mocking smile. "Does that have anything to do with you, young Marquis? I'm just a brainless bimbo with a pretty face. After all, nowhere near as good as Miss Shen. Pei, you should go find Shenyunchi instead. You two are perfect for each other. A psycho matched with another psycho." I truly meant every word of it. I'd heard every single cruel thing he'd said that night in the bamboo grove. Panic flashed across Pei's face. "Su-su, I was drunk that night. I didn't mean any of it. I was just talking nonsense. I never once looked down on you." After saying this, he clenched his fists tightly, his voice rising with anger. "If that's the case, then why didn't you come to me that night? Why did you go to Romyu-chen instead, even though you were suffering from such a powerful aphrodisiac, Su-su? You used to call him cousin so affectionately. What exactly is going on between the two of you?" Pei reached out and grabbed my wrist, his grip so tight it made me wince in pain. "Let go of me. Don't touch me. The poison in my body was only suppressed, not cured." Pei Yi's rough handling only filled me with disgust, and I could feel the familiar burning heat beginning to stir within me once more. Pei Yi noticed the change in my expression at once, a reckless, predatory grin spreading across his face as he reached up to tilt my chin up with his fingers. Su, is the poison acting up again? Sure enough, he never touched you. As he spoke, a look of relief and triumph crossed Pei Yi's face. Su, come back to me. I'll cure the poison for you, and then marry you. How about that? We were childhood sweethearts, after all. Bullet comments. Get lost, psycho. She stopped chasing him. And now he's the one clinging to her. Isn't he just a glutton for punishment? Crowdfunding for dish soap, pour it on his face to wash off that slimy attitude. I slapped him hard across the face. Pei Yi, don't make me hate you. Pei Yi's head snapped to the side. He ran his tongue over the swelling on his lip, his eyes blazing with anger. Jiangsu, you've been spoiled rotten by Rongyu-chen. Once upon a time, your eyes and your heart were filled with no one but me. Just then, Rongyu-chen returned from court. His sedan chair came to a stop not far from us on Tongqiu Avenue. I had no idea how much he'd heard, or how long he'd been watching. Cousin, I called out. I wrenched my wrist free from Pei Yi's grasp, then darted toward Rongyu-chen's sedan chair and slipped inside. The space inside was small, barely big enough for two people. Su, he said, his voice calm, his eyes giving away nothing of his emotions. Did you enjoy your chat with the young Marquis? Bullet comments flashed wildly across my vision. Girl, look at the veins popping out on the back of his hand. He's so jealous he's practically drowning in vinegar. Kiss him, and I guarantee he'll be putty in your hands. Remember this, girl, the angrier he gets, the harder you kiss him, he'll be forgiven in no time. Really? I leaned forward and pressed a quick, soft kiss to the corner of his tense lips. He stiffened for a moment. The veins on the back of his hand stood out even more prominently. Su, Rongyu-chen said with a faint smile, his eyes dark and deep as the night. Who taught you how to coax a man like this? Even as he spoke, he wrapped his arm tightly around my waist, pulling me down to sit in his lap, surrounded by the cool, woody scent of sandalwood. Was it the young Marquis of the Pei family? He enunciated each word slowly, his jaw clenched tightly. I dared not tell him about the strange floating comments I could see. No, I said quickly, I figured it out on my own. I taught myself. Cousin, don't you like it? Rongyu-chen closed his eyes, refusing to answer me. He let me kiss his thin eyelids, his straight, elegant nose. The world spun dizzily around me. Su, he murmured, don't provoke me so lightly. His Adam's apple bobbed up and down, then he kissed me deeply, thoroughly, stealing my breath away completely. An hour later, I lay limp and boneless against his chest. I finally believed it. He was obsessed with me, addicted to me. Every breath I took was his to claim. Rongyu-chen never loosened his hold on me. With his other long, slender finger, he brushed a strand of hair behind my ear. I've found a glacial spring, he said softly. It can cure the remaining poison in your body once and for all. Bullet comments. Wahaha. Is a spring water scene about to happen? Our days are finally looking up. This is the kind of content we signed up for. Leave the nonsense behind, this is the good stuff. Inside the freezing glacial spring pool, I shivered so violently my teeth chattered. I couldn't stop trembling. Bullet comments. No way. Is this all we get for our premium membership? Just soaking our girl like a pickled vegetable in an ice pool. Ice Prince, you're just gonna stand there and watch. Where's your heart? Girl, hurry up and act cute. One little pout, and he'll be your loyal subject forever. I glanced at the comments, then cleared my throat, my voice trembling with cold, soft and sweet as I said, Cousin, I'm cold, I'm scared being in here all alone. Cousin, come stay with me. Rongyu-chen pressed his lips together, a faint flicker of emotion crossing his face. Before he could answer me, my foot slipped on the smooth rocks beneath the water, and I fell into the icy depths. The water was so cold it made my limbs go numb, and I sank deeper and deeper. A splash rang out. Rongyu-chen dove into the water and appeared in front of me, grabbing my wrist and pulling me into his arms. I trembled violently against him. So cold, I whimpered. His tone softened as he stroked my wet hair gently. Cousin's got you. I'll keep you warm. He took my hand and pressed it against his chest. His crescent-patterned silk robe was soaked through, clinging to his skin, its fabric now irrelevant. Beneath my fingertips, I could feel his strong, steady heartbeat. And the well-defined muscles of his chest. I snuggled closer to him. His voice was hoarse with desire as he whispered, "Su, stop teasing me here. I'm not a saint, I can't resist you." On the contrary, he had an unspeakable obsession, and the woman in his arms was his only antidote. In a few days, when you've fully recovered, I'll go to the Jiang family to propose marriage. The glacial spring cured the remaining poison in my body, but it left me bedridden with a severe cold for several days. I rested at the Prime Minister's residence, cared for personally by Rong Yuchen. As time went on, even my mother began to grow suspicious. Su, she said one day, taking my hand in hers, the Prime Minister is swamped with state affairs day and night, and Yuchen is only your distant cousin. You can't keep clinging to him like you did when you were a child. I thought back to when Rong Yuchen first came to the capital as a teenager, to study at the prestigious Louis Academy. He'd topped the imperial examinations 3 times in a row, coming in first place every single time. Back then, he hadn't yet become prime minister, and he'd stayed at the Jiang family residence for a while. The first time I saw Rong Yuchen, I'd thought to myself, how could there be someone so beautiful yet so cold? He looked like a jade Buddha, his eyes devoid of all joy or sorrow. It was my mother who had pulled me forward and told me to call him cousin. From that day on, I'd called him cousin reluctantly for many years. It was also during that time that I'd accidentally discovered he had some kind of secret illness. Every month, on the 15th day, he would lock himself in his room and refuse to see anyone. Because of his exceptional knowledge and mastery of the 6 gentlemanly arts, my mother had asked him to tutor me for a while. When my mother came to the Prime Minister's residence to fetch me, it was Rong Yuchen who stepped forward to smooth things over for me. He put on that same aloof, untouchable air of a perfect older brother. Su has been very well behaved, he said, his voice calm and composed. She's been studying the Qin with me. She's not a bother at all. Once she's fully recovered from her cold, I'll personally escort her back home. My mother thanked Rong Yuchen profusely, never once daring to suspect the true nature of our relationship. The day Rong Yuchen sent me back to the Jiang family residence, Pei Yi arrived at our door with a marriage proposal. Bullet comments, XVS. New love. This showdown is exactly what I needed. Fight for our girl, boys. To a scumbag, the one who got away is always the best. He's lower than a dog. I bet that slap she gave him only made him want her more. Pei Yi brought hundreds of sedan loads of betrothal gifts with him. Su, he said, his voice soft and pleading. For the first time in his life setting aside his pride to beg for my forgiveness. Can't we stop fighting? I'm sorry, we've been childhood sweethearts for so many years, growing up together side by side. Please forgive your brother Pei just this once. Before I'd seen those bullet comments, it had been me chasing after him. Terrified of losing him to someone else. Su, I've brought all these betrothal gifts, he continued, his eyes darting to Rong Yuchen, who sat beside me, a silent, imposing presence. If you think they're not enough, I can add more. He raised his eyebrows slightly, then turned to Rong Yuchen with a forced smile. Prime Minister, I've heard that you're Su's distant cousin. This list of betrothal gifts represents my sincere desire to marry Su. I'd be honored if you'd take a look at it. I froze, my heart skipping a beat, and quickly said, I never agreed to marry you. There's no need to look at the list, take it all back. But a pair of fair, slender hands reached out to take the list before I could. Since the young Marquis is so sincere about marrying my sister, Rong Yuchen said, his voice smooth and cold, a faint, mocking smile playing on his lips as he fixed Pei Yi with a dark, intense gaze. I'll be sure to take a close look at this list. I've been planning to take a wife myself recently. This will serve as a perfect reference. Bullet comments. Girl, you're in danger. Your brother looks like he's about to snap and turn into a yanda. You're definitely in for a punishment tonight, and I don't mean the kind with a ruler. I was so nervous that I could barely sleep, my heart pounding with anxiety. I'd gone to bed early, blowing out the candles, but I was woken up by one of Rong Yuchen's servants, Miss Jiang. The servant said softly, bowing respectfully, The Prime Minister has asked for you. He wishes to give you a Qin lesson. I rubbed my sleepy eyes. Then suddenly remembered, tonight was the 15th day of the month. Tonight, Rome Yuchen would be especially different. My heart sank like a stone, and I pulled a face, complaining softly. It was Pei Yi who made him angry. Why is he taking it out on me? Can't I just not go? The servant sent by Rome Yuchen seemed to have expected me to say this. The Prime Minister said. The servant replied, his voice calm and unyielding, that Miss Jiang shouldn't be ungrateful. He's sacrificed so much to cure you of the poison in your body. Fine, I sighed, resigning myself to my fate. I'll go. The room was dark and dimly lit, the scent of sandalwood thicker and more intoxicating than ever. I thought back to when I was 15 years old. I'd accidentally wandered into Rome Yuchen's room. He'd just come out of the bath, water droplets dripping from his jawline, his Adam's apple, his neck. I'd suddenly felt a surge of nervousness and fear. The way he'd looked at me had been so intense, so deep it had been almost terrifying, like a predator staring at its prey, delivered right to his door. Rome Yuchen had closed his eyes, his long eyelashes trembling as he suppressed all the emotions swirling within him. Then he'd snapped at me, his voice cold and sharp. Who allowed you to come in? Get out at once. I'd been in such a hurry to leave that I'd stepped on the hem of my dress and fallen straight into Rome Yuchen's arms. The scent of sandalwood had been overwhelming, his skin had been burning hot to the touch. I'd lifted my hand instinctively, placing it on his forehead. Cousin, are you sick? Should we send for a doctor? But then I'd thought about it and it didn't make sense. Every month, on this exact day, Rome Yuchen would disappear, locking himself away from the world. Who allowed you to touch me? His hot breath had fanned over my palm. His voice hoarse and trembling with restraint. He'd reached out to push me away, but somehow, his hands had ended up wrapping around me instead, holding me gently, carefully, in a loose embrace. I'm in so much pain right now, he'd whispered, his voice raw with need. Just hold me for a little while. I'd held him all night long, his body had been burning hot, chasing away the chill, and I'd slept soundly and comfortably in his arms. But when I'd woken up the next morning, he'd turned back into that cold, aloof, untouchable Rome Yuchen once more. He'd ordered me to leave at once, forbidding me from ever coming near him again. I'd been so hurt and wronged by his words that I'd obeyed him, never daring to go near him again. Later, Rome Yuchen's career had skyrocketed, until he became the all-powerful Prime Minister who held the entire court in his hands. I'd bowed to him along with everyone else, calling him cousin half-heartedly, out of politeness. Rome Yuchen had never seemed to hear me, not until I'd seen those bullet comments. Every time I called him cousin, it made his fingers tremble uncontrollably beneath his sleeves. Su, he said, his voice hoarse and deep in the darkness, sending a shiver down my spine. Play the Qin for me. Bullet comments. Playing the Qin at a time like this. Girl, go play with him instead. TSK, men and their stupid playing hard to get games, if it's not the spicy content we want. Don't bother calling us over, don't waste our premium membership time. Those floating words filled my mind with all sorts of inappropriate thoughts, causing me to fumble over several notes as I played. Rome Yuchen rose from his seat and walked over to stand behind me. He was wearing only a white silk inner robe, revealing his broad, muscular chest. No candles were lit in the room. Moonlight streamed through the window, casting a soft, silvery glow over his skin, making him look like a piece of warm, lustrous jade, tempting me to reach out and touch him. Su, he murmured, his voice low and husky, as he leaned in close, his breath brushing against my ear, his arms slowly wrapping around me from behind. You've made so many mistakes. As your elder brother, I haven't been teaching you well enough. His voice was thick with desire as he whispered in my ear. What kind of punishment do you think you deserve? Bullet comments. I'm deceased. The plot is moving so fast I can't keep up. Please don't stop. His palm covered the back of my hand, his fingers closing around mine, interlocking our digits tightly. His body was burning hot, an unusual warmth for him. Cousin, I whispered, my voice trembling. He coaxed me softly, his breath fanning my ear. Call me again. Cousin. My fingers twitched uncontrollably, a tremor echoing the wild, fluttering beat of my heart deep within my soul, in the darkness. I could faintly make out that he was wearing a black veil over his eyes, concealing them from my gaze. I reached out to brush my fingers against the soft fabric. "Why are you covering your eyes? I need to hear how many notes you play wrong," he replied, dodging my hand, his voice low and hoarse with suppressed desire. "So I'll know how to punish you." Bullet comments went wild across my vision. He's lying. Every month on the 15th, his obsession flares up, and only you can soothe it. He's afraid that if he looks at you, he'll lose all control completely. At a time like this, he still refuses to hurt you. I swear I'm starting to wonder if he's ascetic or something. "What kind of punishment are you going to give me, cousin?" I asked, my voice soft. The poison in my body had been cured long ago, but my blood still burned hot with a different kind of fever. "Sit on my lap and play," he ordered, his tone cold yet laced with a husky warmth that sent shivers down my spine. Bullet comments: "Girl, do you even know how to play the tune anymore? If it were me sitting there, I'd be playing all night long. When do I get to be his personal little pet for a few days?" By the time dawn broke, I was finally allowed to leave Rome Yuchen's room, exhausted beyond belief. As soon as I stumbled back to my courtyard, my mother sent a maid to fetch me at once. My eyes stung from lack of sleep, my fingers swollen from playing the tune for hours on end. I was completely distracted. Barely paying attention to a word she said, my mother rambled on beside me, her voice filled with exasperation. "Su, you and Pei grew up together as childhood sweethearts. He's come to his senses, apologized to you in person, and brought all these magnificent betrothal gifts. Can't you at least consider it? The Pei family and ours have been close friends for generations. We're perfectly matched in status. Besides Pei, there's no better man for you in the entire capital." I let out a lazy yawn, stretching my aching limbs. "I'm not marrying him," I said. "No, and I mean no." Bullet comments: "Girl, never ever take back a cheating ex. That scumbag has nothing on your brother. Word on the street is that your brother has already prepared a chain if you dare run away and marry someone else. He'll lock you up in bed and make sure you only ever look at him for the rest of your life." I shuddered involuntarily. Last night, it had taken all my effort to calm that jealous monster down. Every time I played a wrong note, he'd punished me with a kiss. By the end of the night, he'd been crying, tears staining the corners of his eyes as he clung to me tightly, refusing to let go. He'd whispered over and over again in my ear, his voice a low, breathless plea: "Su, you're never allowed to leave me. I'm addicted to you. If I lose you, I can't promise what I'll do." "Su," my mother said, raising her voice slightly, clearly growing impatient with my stubbornness. "If you don't marry Pei, then who will you marry? Look at the entire capital. Who is better than the young Marquis of the Pei family? He has power, he has looks, he has everything. Who says there's no one better?" I retorted, lowering my eyes to hide the smile that tugged at the corners of my lips. "Compared to him, Pei isn't even worthy of lifting his hem." My mother flicked my forehead lightly, a look of disbelief on her face. "Where on earth would you find such a perfect man? And even if he existed, why would he ever set his sights on you? Why would he be so determined to marry you?" She sighed, her tone softening into one of earnest persuasion. "The young Marquis has truly turned over a new leaf. He's been pestering me non-stop, waiting for you to nod your head and agree. He's even sworn that he'll never take a concubine without your permission. If you let this chance slip away, Su, you'll never get another opportunity to marry Pei again." By afternoon, Pei had come to the door once more, and this time, he'd brought Shinyanchi with him. She acted as his matchmaker, her voice soft and melodious as she spoke, every word dripping with sincerity. "Su, please don't misunderstand. The young Marquis and I are nothing more than friends. We've only had tea together a few times. He sees me as nothing more than a kindred spirit, a confidant, not a lover." Pei stood behind her, his eyes fixed firmly on me, never once leaving my face. As soon as Shinyanchi finished speaking, he let out a sigh of relief, stepped forward quickly, and placed his hand on my shoulder. "Su, did you hear that? Yunci and I are just friends, nothing more. I'm truly sincere about wanting to marry you." Bullet comments cursed on my behalf. Yeah, sure you are. You're just two people who are more than friends but less than lovers. I bet you two will rekindle your friendship sooner or later. Leave our girl to be tormented by beggars, and run off together. Any choice that isn't 100% unwavering is just betrayal. Our girl isn't stupid, she'll never fall for their lies. Without further ado, let's welcome our girl's protector to the stage. The moment Rong Yuchen appeared, the entire front hall of the Jiang residence fell completely silent for a heartbeat. His eyes flicked to Pei Yi's hand resting on my shoulder, and a cold, dark shadow passed over his gaze before he looked away, his expression calm and unreadable. Bullet comments, girl. Do you not see what's happening here? I'm facepalming so hard. Perfect. The Vinegar King is back to drinking his fill of jealousy again. I shook Pei Yi's hand off my shoulder. Then walked straight over to Rong Yuchen, standing as close to him as I possibly could. Only then did the cold, menacing glint in his eyes fade away, replaced by a soft, warm light. I looked up at him, my voice small and sweet as I pouted. Why did you take so long to get here? Rong Yuchen paid no heed to the stunned onlookers around us. He raised his hand to tuck a stray strand of hair behind my ear, his voice gentle and husky. There was an urgent matter at court that delayed me. My mother seemed to finally realize that something was terribly wrong, her eyes darting back and forth between us, her eyelids twitching nervously. She grabbed Rong Yuchen's arm, her voice filled with urgency. Yuchen, you're practically Susu's elder brother. Help her make the right decision, tell her whether she should marry Pei Yi or not. Rong Yuchen spoke slowly, his tone deliberate, every word ringing clear and loud in the silent hall. I can't do that, because I also intend to marry Susu. My mother froze, her eyes widening in shock. She slowly let go of his arm, her mind struggling to process his words. Yuchen, what are you saying? He was in no hurry, waiting patiently for her to recover from her shock before repeating himself, his voice firm and unyielding. It would be better for Susu to marry me than anyone else. I'll keep her right here under your watchful eye. Aunt, I'll never let anyone bully her. Isn't that the best outcome? My mother stopped glaring at Rong Yuchen and turned to glare at me instead, her eyes blazing with anger and disbelief. Susu has always been a stubborn, reckless girl. She's clumsy, she can't even embroider a single flower properly. How could she ever be worthy of being the Prime Minister's wife? Bullet comments burst into laughter. Mothers are all the same. They're fiercely protective yet love to point out their children's flaws, always thinking other people's kids are better. Don't talk about our girl like that. So what if she's a little clumsy, a little silly, and a little naive? She's still absolutely adorable. Hey, you're not exactly defending her either. Shenyanchi's face turned as white as a sheet, tears glistening in her eyes as she struggled to hold them back. Miss Jiang is truly extraordinary, she said, her voice trembling with barely concealed jealousy. First the young Marquis begs to marry her. Then even the Prime Minister is willing to lower himself for her. Pei Yi finally seemed to snap out of his daze, his face twisting with rage and betrayal. Susu, you told me you hated him the most. You said he was a hypocrite, cold and heartless. You said you were scared to even stand in front of him. Rong Yuchen lifted his eyelids slowly, casting Pei Yi a single, icy cold glance. I had no idea, he said, his voice calm yet laced with a hint of hurt, that this is what you truly thought of me. Susu, that idiot Pei Yi and his big mouth. I grabbed Rong Yuchen's sleeve, tugging at it insistently to make him look at me. That's not true, he's lying, he's twisting my words. I really like you, it's true. A faint, soft smile tugged at the corners of Rong Yuchen's lips, his eyes melting into pools of warmth and affection. Susu, you said that yourself, I'll hold you to it. My mother finally saw the truth shining brightly in my eyes, a look of resignation crossing her face. Daughters really are destined to leave their mothers, she sighed, shaking her head in exasperation. You little rascal, when did you get together with Yuchen? And you had the nerve to keep it from me. I wrinkled my nose, a sheepish smile spreading across my face. It hasn't been that long, actually. It really hadn't been that long. If I hadn't seen those strange floating words, I would never have dared to knock on his door in the middle of the night. Let alone shamelessly beg him to help me cure the poison. Fine, my mother exclaimed, throwing her hands up in defeat, clearly too angry to argue anymore. You choose your own husband, I'm done meddling. On our wedding night, after drinking the nuptial wine together, my courage swelled, and I stared unabashedly at Rong Yuchen's profile as he sat beside me, dressed in his bright red wedding robes. His cold, elegant features were like a masterpiece carved from jade. A faint flush of pink crept up from the tips of his ears, spreading across his cheeks. They say you cry easily, I whispered, my heart fluttering with mischief. Who? Rong Yuchen asked, his eyes darkening with a hint of wariness and danger. Who told you that? I didn't want to explain the strange floating comments to him. I want to test it out, I said, leaning closer to him, my voice soft and teasing. Husband, test what? He asked, his voice already growing hoarse with desire. The mandarin duck-embroidered bed curtains were lowered, their fabric fluttering gently as if ready to take flight. A night of endless joy stretched before us, like a beautiful dream without end. For the rest of my life, every joy and every sorrow would be with him.